Hi vinyl community, it's John. This is my video response to Declan Poehler's question about what punk is, or what punk is for me. Quite a very good question actually, I like the idea of it. I've always drawn a parallel between punk and the Dadaist movement, the Dadaist art movement that happened around about the beginning of the last century. Something that's quite hard to do, I think, is to try and cast your mind to how things would have been back in those days, and seeing the kind of reaction from the public of the Dadaist move, art, the posters and the things that they did, and also cast your mind back to 76, 77 and seeing the reaction from the people of what punk was doing, or at least the London punk scene was doing. Both these scenes were very shocking, and they got a very strong reaction, which for me is what punk is all about. And many people would even say that punk basically is Dadaism. I'm going to go through some records you may find interesting. This is my copy of Here's the Sex Pistols, or Never Mind the Bollocks. This is an original timepiece. It's on Virgin, and yeah, great. I like this. It's even got a poem on it. I don't normally like writing on records, but someone's written to courgette, roses are red, violets are blue, my face is beautiful, what happened to you? For me, that's very punk. I would even add as well, Declan, your name, the fact that your parents called you Declan after Elvis Costello, that's kind of a punky thing to do. It's really cool. Hats off to them. Great parents. Anyway, next album that I have to show is The Damned. First album, Damned, Damned, Damned. And this is pretty cool. It's on Stiff, which is sort of the independent label of punk rock that it was sort of grown on. A lot of artists, punk artists from Stiff. And here's their second album I picked up recently in England. Quite difficult to get hold of. Got a really good track called Problem Child on it. Look out for that. Again, an original copy of London Calling by The Clash. Again, this is kind of beat up. It's one of those ones from the time. Kids with safety pins in their noses were listening to this. Great record. Recently got an upgrade of that. What else we got? Tom Robinson Band. And I've got some really good punk compilations. I think this one came out in '77. It's got some great artists. It's got the Ramones, Dead Boys, Patti Smith, Richard Hell and the Voidoids, Boomtown Rats. Really good compilation. Another one, quite a famous one, I guess, Street Level. 20 new wave hits. It's got lots of artists that aren't particularly punk on here, but a lot that are. And another punk compilation which came out a little bit later. I think this came out in 1980. This was a compilation that was a reaction of the music scene at the time against something that Eric Clapton disgracefully said on stage about race and so on. And although it's not technically a punk compilation, a lot of the punk artists like X-Ray Specs, the Mekons, the Members, Elvis Costello and Attractions, Stiff Little Fingers, they kind of got together and had a big concert and put this compilation together in reaction to the racist statements that were made before. Bands that aren't necessarily punk, or that I would consider punk, that others may not. There are some, you could argue they were sort of like the second wave of punk. The very first Police album is quite edgy, quite punky. Definitely a influence of punk. The Pretenders, they were pretty much punk. Recommend this album if you haven't heard it, that's a good one. And then Christy Hynde, I think she even played with The Damned for a while, or sang for The Damned. And then the Boomtown Rats, this is their first album. Which brings me neatly onto the legacy of what punk was, for me, at least in the UK. and that is Live Aid. I would say Live Aid, the whole sort of big global concert, that is punk's greatest legacy. Although most of the artists there weren't punk rockers, many of the people behind it, and particularly like Bob Geldof, for instance, and many people sort of that were deeply involved in that were perhaps from the punk scene. And for me, it's like, it's the biggest, the biggest thing that came out of that in the long run. Although it happened, almost a decade afterwards. It's a sort of a symbol of what that energy brought, and it brought about change. And so that's my answer to your question. I hope you find that interesting. Thank you very much, and look out for my next video. Bye.